conversation. Good morning. Good morning, my leaders, managers, executives, however it is that you fall in the leadership category. Because if you opened your eyes this morning, you are prepared to serve, level up, and be excellent in whatever it is that you do. So, I would like to, first of all, welcome you to this Tuesday's Morning Cup of Coffee with Mary May, leadership strategist. That before you make any decision in your day and starting out with your levels of intention, that you have some coffee or tea or smoothie, whatever it is that thrives you. This morning, I'm rocking out with some tea. And so let's get into it and chat about our leadership nuggets and how it is that we can infuse a GPS method to help us navigate, understand, recognize where those roadblocks and handcuffs generally fall for you. So the thing is that every Tuesday I come in, I have conversation around um, leadership transformation, leadership resources and tools, figuring out what is it that has limits in place for you not being able or seeing yourself being able to kind of break what you understand as a glass ceiling. And so once you recognize what is in the path and what gets in your way, if you will, you're able to pull the curtain back and move and grow from a position or space of being overlooked, underpaid, not promoted, not seen, invisible. All of those things become eliminated when you are able to strategize and identify how you can best show up. And so every Tuesday, I come in, I share the nuggets with you so that you can be able to understand how it is that you show up, things that you may be aware of or not aware of, and so that if you are to activate the GPS or activate any of the resources that we talk about on these Tuesday conversations, that you will be able to understand what it is about you, what it is you say, how it is you choose to show up, that has a narrative that blocks you from your level of leadership that you desire or being understood and read the way that you deserve. And with your being able to regulate like your mood, your intentionality, your space, however it is that you choose to show up in that aspect. And so for today's conversation, we are talking about consistency in leadership. Am I building up or am I breaking down? So, am I building up or am I breaking down my team based on my consistency in leadership? So, what that looks like is really looking at the word consistency and what that can mean for you as a leader. When you look at what your morning routine is it consistent? When you look at how it is that you start a meeting, is that consistent? How it is that you greet individuals, how it is that you expect to be respected. Where is the breakdown and where is the build up? And are you the missing link in how that gets activated, knowingly or unknowingly? So, that's what we're going to kind of dive in today. So if you are in this conversation and you're like, oh my God, that is me, feel free to identify how it is that you can level up your career with just a quick breakthrough strategy call. We can jump on and figure out, what skills and strategies that we talked about in this call or in something else that you may have had contact with me, so that you can kind of understand what it looks like. Engagement is definitely welcome in this conversation, because the important thing is that I'm not in your way too long. I just want to join you in your commute and in your last few minutes before you walk out the door or walk to your place of working in your home if you're still in a hybrid work schedule, and give you some resources that can actually, benefit you. So wanting to kind of look at how it is that we can be elevated from where we are and transform into where it is that we want to be, with realizing what exactly does our relationship, our intentionality with being consistent in how it is that we communicate, how we build teams, how we delegate different things, how we just proceed. Like, do we have a strategy in place? And so when you look at consistency versus inconsistency, consistency versus inconsistency. So it's like, what exactly is being consistent? What exactly does it look like in managing people, managing you, managing your loved ones, whatever that is? What does it look like in being consistent? And then what is the cost when you're inconsistent? So I know I'm like several, I mean, probably a gazillion years ago when I was working in an MLM company, and one of their models was being inconsistently consistent. Now they frame that in a positive aspect in regards to in leadership. We never knew what our incentive, we knew what some of the core incentives were, but they would always bring out surprises. So they always wanted us to be on our A game and doing things so that we can be aware and be in position to strategize and be able to receive whatever that inconsistently consistent reward was going to be. Now, in that aspect, inconsistency from the leadership at team was okay, because that consistently inconsistent, they had the core. Like I said, we knew the core things that we could earn, but inconsistently they would throw in other bonus incentives to keep you on cue so that you can work things out well. Now, from that mindset, or that from that practice, it being inconsistent can have its benefits, but from a mindset of how it is that you activate and how you operate, what consistency looks like for you is like the game changer between you winning, you having a successful day, you scoring that contract that you're looking for, to not doing any of those things, not being successful in any of those ways. And that comes up with when we define consistency, we have to look at consistency from a perspective of stability, from trust, from regularity, because consistency would be an agreement or like harmonious like decision or parts or features or something that kind of brings together the whole. So we can't have the different puzzle pieces like scattered all around with something that somebody's trying to trust you with, or know that you're going to be confidently available and stable in that situation. So if something stays the same, like people know what to expect from you, then there's no way in which there could be a contradiction that is going to like shake the puzzle up, or shake the team up, or shake whatever the strategy is up in a way that is not going to serve you in the like, you know, the best way possible. That you haven't positioned yourself where there's a level of contradiction. But as soon as there's contradiction to how it is that you perform and the strategy in which you activate or inspire and delegate for your team, is the moment when inconsistency becomes the game changer that conflicts with your level of integrity. And when your level of integrity comes into place and you are activating things from an inconsistent standpoint, then what people have learned to expect from you becomes unpredictable. It also shows your capacity is not at the right capacity level, in a way in which you are able to structure how it is that you move forward. So if you are inconsistent, which leads into being unpredictable, unpredictable, yes, can have some gifts. Unpredictable, yes, can keep things spicy and so forth like that, as far as building team morale and so forth like that. From it depends on how you push that in. But when you're unpredictable and you haven't looked at your capacity, and what your team learns from you is that what you said in the beginning is going to change down the line, or what you said in the beginning, we're going to have a disagreement or deviation of some sort, where there's a conflict. And the conflict is not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but it's a conflict in the fact that what you have identified as your expectations are not consistent, where we know that we can trust you with regularity, or that we could trust your ability to kind of fulfill what the expectation is, or your reliability to communicate effectively and clearly on what it means. So if you have erratic changes or illogical, like, type decision making skills, that you're only looking at how it's going to impact you, then when you only look at how it's going to impact you and not impact the outcome of the project, the outcome of what other team members need to do in order to meet the deadline, if you're not always performing or identifying in the same way or in similar manner, then your unpredictability shows the breakdown, and it shows the inconsistent feature or quality around how important you feel what it is that you're supposed to do being implemented successfully. So having that clarity and that understanding of what it is that you're doing that is inconsistent is being very disruptive to the team. I'm going to take some tea on that. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So if you're disrupting the team, how can they have an expectation of how to flow with you? How can they know that what you communicated at this point is not going to shift and change? And yes, things need to shift and change at times, but if it's with consistency that you say one thing and expect something different, then your reliability of how you share information or how you support me begins to shift as well. And so then also it goes into the morale changing, the benefits, the cost and the cost and the benefits of what exactly am I experiencing, and do you have the confidence? Do you have the confidence? Do you have the confidence to be able to see what you need, what you identify from point A to point Z? Or if it's only going to D, like, are you able to strategically clarify what is needed and delegate when it is feeling like you are possibly overwhelmed, overextended, not really able to kind of identify how it is that you may be, your intention is to build up. But when you look at it from an individual aspect, is that business decision that you're making and changing in your communication impacting others in an adverse way? So one of the examples can be that you have like a business structure that maybe you have to, provide different resources for people to come to a space and do whatever. And if the registration or the amount of people or what you were expecting is not going to happen, you make that change at the last minute. That means that you may not have the systems in place to kind of get that confidence that you need in that aspect, but then um you're heavily reliant on a system that is not always built up the right way. So when it's broken down, you are showing that in your confidence that you are nervous. And you are also showing in your confidence when you go back and forth on your word, you make illogical and erratic decisions, that the question comes up, do you actually trust you? Do you trust yourself as the leader that you are, and the capacity that you have? Because the risk that it's going to take for you to be either an outlier, to stand in your lane unapologetically, to be able to like move forward, requires you to take risks. And it requires you to take risk of not knowing necessarily the outcome of what the capabilities may be, but then also realizing how it is that you can show up with not fearing what's on the other side. So when you find that your consistency is making a shift, and sometimes your decisions are not quite clear, how you're implementing things are not clear, they're becoming illogical and erratic, maybe even other things around you that was also trustworthy and stable for you in life are now starting to break down. You really have to look at if all of these things are breaking down for me or around me, I am the consistent variable. And as the consistent variable, you have it's beneficial for you to consider your role in how the things have come into being a breakdown. Because your nervousness, your challenge with confidence, your inability to trust yourself unapologetically, knowing that you were in your lane of genius, is breaking down not only you and your integrity, but it's breaking down those who are working with you as well. And so when you look at the influence that you have, every decision that you make is impacting more than one person. So when you think about how you could become reliable, how you can become more effective in your consistency, is knowing what those key elements are that's going to help you make that shift. And sometimes we have blinders on because we've been doing the things that we're doing for so long that these messy decisions don't really show up to us as messy decisions. It doesn't show up to us as being unreliable, but what it's doing is that it's triggering us on our fear of success or our fear of the unknown, because we say we have a goal to be on the other side of a situation. However, what that goal looks like and how we engineer the steps and how we position ourselves sometimes get really gray, and sometimes we get distracted because it's taking maybe longer than we anticipated, it's taking a different route than we anticipated, and we get triggered in asking ourselves, am I really ready for whatever this next level is? Like, am I truly prepared for like how it is that I would receive myself, how I will be received by others, and am I able to successfully move forward and function with the balance that's needed? Or am I the missing link that's not taking that full personal inventory so that I can kind of see what it is that I could do differently? And so when you're thinking about and looking at your strategy, how it is that you just do stuff from a consistent standpoint, your morning routine, your evening routine, how you greet people in the morning, how you start a team meeting, how you start a conversation engaging in a new contract, whatever the level and touch it is for you in business, how are you organized in doing that? What is your system? When I say system, what is your process? What is the thing that you do with stability, with trust, that people can expect, that will not be an erratic behavior or illogical thought process? What is it that you do? Is it truly organized? Because if you're showing up unorganized and you're showing up where you're making multiple decisions that's illogical and don't match up, then you are positioning yourself in a way that is not only challenging your growth, but it's challenging people to see the full scale impact of how it is that you would be at that next level that they have identified you for. But when you show up inconsistently and not regarding what's actually going on right in front of you, your functioning, your um, capacity, your ability to be compliant in the process is showing that you are not organized and that you are not ready for next leveling up. And it's like, okay, we don't know how that actually comes to be, but it's like, because sometimes we make the most simplest thing the most challenging thing. And in making the most simplest thing the most challenging, then we begin to not realize that our impact and our influence has far more reach. So whereas you're building a team and people begin to drift away, it would be because they're drifting away because they can't trust the reliability of the information that you are about to provide. And sometimes as the leader, most times as the leader, you are a high achiever. You see the big picture, you see the long-term goal, and you haven't really thought about how life is hacking and impacting those little bitty steps, the little bitty parts that maybe not engineered by you but engineered by others, and how you can figure it out, because you are a giant in your space and in your lane of genius. However, you have to be mindful of how it is that you can show up and how you can make things happen where you're building the team, you're not walking in fear, You're not getting triggered by the question of, am I really ready? Or why is it that no one sees me? How do I become so invisible when I'm the glue in so many capacities? So it's like, what is it that you can do differently? How can you get clear? Because life and your career work side by side. Even when we try to compartmentalize them and think that we can function high and above, and not be impacted by maybe what's happening outside of our lane of genius as a leader, it's impossible. And so, because you begin second guessing yourself and doubting, you become inconsistent, which means that your thought process needs to be disrupted, or at least identified on how you can have a better peace around when things become challenging for you. Because the missing link, or the ability to be consistent on a regular basis, shows that you can be successful. You just have to put the right organization and the right pieces in place. And sometimes what happens is that we try to make it so extravagant, so not simple, that that we begin to lose sight of what is the end goal, or what is my true way of making this decision, and am I stuck? Because if you're stuck and you're doing the same thing over and over again, however, it's coming up where you are short, then the challenge becomes, how can I show up differently? Because if you don't have clarity, and you're often triggered by somebody questioning an idea, and just because they question, they want to get more information. They're not just trying to, say they don't trust you or you're not capable. Sometimes the way that you have said it is not clear for them. And so when they question, it's not to make your decision messy, it is to identify with more clarity. So, as somebody wrote, as a leader, having a clear vision gives you permission to change things up as long as you're in line with the vision. Absolutely. You have to know what the vision is and be clear with the vision with the individuals of whom you're working with, because the accountability of what that vision is should be a working vision. It should be something that you're flexible in saying, okay, well, for this season, it worked in this aspect, but in my build up, so that I don't break down, I'm also open to the fact that my vision may need to be altered in some particular way. So being reliable, as well as having a vision as the guidepost to kind of measure the levels of success. Again, that would be a 2 millimeter shift. That would also be a way of looking at the glass ceiling does not exist only except for the ways in which you put it there. Because the glass ceiling is the limitation that you self impose on your capacity, your knowledge base, your lane of genius, how excellent that you are, and that the skill that you bring to the conversation is unapologetically needed. And so when you think about that, you have to think about, what is the missing link when if I become inconsistent? How is this pausing me, my team, the goal, the vision, the outcome that we desire to receive? How does it make us go from non-compliant to successful? How can we make that shift? And usually that is the part in which people become very, very challenged, because they think that what they have been doing has been done the right way. And it's not that it's not done the right way, but everything can always use some breathing room that gives you growing room, that you can kind of move forward and knowing, okay, how can I do something different? And so you have to, when you're thinking about leadership and you're thinking about how it is that you move forward and looking at the impact, the quote that I found that kind of matched for today's conversation is that it's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. Excuse me. So when you think about how I mentioned earlier on in the conversation, where working with the MLM, and they had that mind frame of how it is they wanted to push us as leaders, was they were going to be consistently inconsistent. We knew the vision, we knew the purpose, and we knew what the goals were. Those things were consistent no matter what. For them, being consistently inconsistent was, if you met those three pillars, you never knew what other bonuses that you were going to get. So wouldn't those additional bonuses, like just grabbing from that platform and that foundation, wouldn't those other bonuses be great if it is what it is that you desire and deserve? That you realize that, okay, your life has shaped you and placed you in the position of where you are, and that the life hack or whatever is distracting you is a temporary thing, but it doesn't have to be something that I end up falling into and become an illogical, non-dependable, overreactive, very defensive. Because when your people are questioning your consistency, you tend to fall into the default of being defensive and reactive and making erratic decisions versus sitting with yourself, hearing what the person is saying. And when I say hearing, that you're listening to hear, you're listening to learn, you're listening to identify how it is that what they're giving you is a nugget versus what they're giving or sharing to you is their lens, how they see you in the mirror of how it is that you can level up in a different way. So it's like in being open to that type of feedback gives you the opportunity to level up. It gives you the opportunity to not only see what you see, understand what you understand, but be able to give grace in learning the perspective of other people. Because what that does is it can inform how the vision and the mission statement that is guarding or guiding the conversation can be a livable document, can be relatable to all age groups, lane of geniuses, strengths of genius that people bring into the process, and being able to unapologetically level up. So that's my nugget for you this morning, is not being triggered and being able to trust you, that sometimes the risk can be costly, but not taking the risk can even be a greater cost. And when I say greater cost, it could be that you are no longer positioned into the leveling up that you're interested in being. You're not able to stabilize and understand the things that are breaking you down, and they may break you down on a consistent basis. Some of the breakdown comes with fearing what's on the other side, not trusting yourself, being triggered by the unknown. Like if you don't know what that success nugget looks like for you on the other side, you just have some ideas, but you allow fear to kind of have that conversation with you and not allow you to move forward. Then though you're triggered by questions, you're triggered by challenges, when really every challenge, every conversation being an interview, you should be able to be relatable and say, what am I supposed to learn from this? It doesn't have to be a criticism that's a negative criticism. It could be a criticism that you could learn from, because everybody's perspective has a way of teaching us in our grow up and how it is that we show up. Plain and simple. Messy decisions and your reliability, like staying stuck in that, will keep you in the cycle of doing the same thing that you've been doing and not receiving ever. Like you feel like, okay, I can never get past this one particular part. If there's something that you are encountering that you're always successful until a certain point, and then you get to that point and say either it's a distraction of life, there's a distraction of like from the team, or there's some kind of shift that takes you off track, that's where the game changer would be, and figuring out what is the missing link between you consistently showing up. So, any thoughts, any feedback, any questions that you may have, you can feel free to drop them in the chat. If it is on the replay or here live, I will definitely come back and share some love and give you some feedback. The other thing that I want to share before I wind us down today is we are about to encounter the fourth quarter of 2022. And the thing that some of my business besties was like, are people really ready to level up their career, their life, their relationships, and whatever it is that they do in quarter four? And I'm not sure if people are, or if people have positioned themselves, because what you do in quarter four positions you for 2023. Yes, 2022 is almost over. It's like almost over. I can't believe it. Um, So it's almost over, but what is your strategy? What is your purpose? What is your it's early intentionality of being able to identify, are you the missing link? Identify with clarity and unapologetically what your goals are. Um, if you are, I do have a workshop that's coming up for preparing for quarter 4 and being able to identify what are those 5 steps to leveling up your career for Q4. So it's a webinar. It's on Wednesday, September the 28th. So that's 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, something like that. At 3:30, it is a hybrid opportunity. So if you are not in the local area of Philadelphia, you can join us virtually. So it's a virtual and in person. I can share the link in the comments for you to register. But the things that we're going to talk about is visibility, conflict, confidence, clarity in your goals, and being able to identify what your lane of genius is and kind of what are some of the roadblocks that get in the way. So the roadblocks is where we infuse that GPS blueprint, that goals, positioning and planning, and having that strategy that's going to ensure that you are in the right position in the right place at the right time. So my goal is that we would be able to level you up, position you in the right place, and you would be able to do so in an unapologetic way, and with success. So that is available September the 28th. It probably will be something that's ongoing, but at this point, we're not sure. It might just be a one off. And I hope to see you in the room if you really want to get very crystal clear on what we talked about today, your impact and your influence, and being able to build up not only yourself but those around you. But we've talked about over the past couple sessions about quiet quitters from an executive, can't keep them working. We've talked about micromanagement, we've talked about trauma. So all of those things fall into how it is that you close out this year and what you carry into the next year. So let's gain some visibility, confidence in your goals so that you can be in a position, in a place that you want to be, and possibly able to level up before the holidays, if not at the start of 2023. Because, yes, this year is almost winded down. So, unlock your silence. Let's get snatched to the next level of where it is that we want to be, and level up your leadership. So I'm looking forward to working with you, but then also touching base with you each and every Tuesday here with variety of nuggets that we can share. And so if you find that you would like to grab a quick call to identify what your breakthrough is, you can feel free to go to the link that's on the screen at go.oneshub.com/Mary1 and grab what my availability is so that we can chat. And the thing that's important is that what are you executing? What are you executing to make sure that you are able to grow from where you are now and have that transformation that not only you deserve, is life on your own terms, but that you're able to kind of live unapologetically in the absence of believing that there is a glass ceiling. So until next week, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us this week. If you catch us on the replay again, if you share some love in the comments, I will come through and show you some love and give you some feedback as well to whatever you share. So again, thank you for your support, and I look forward to seeing you next week. So take care. Have a great day.